are a Marvel Comics fan, or more specifically, if you are a Marvel Comics Spider-Man fan, and you really believe that the editors, the people, the executives over there at Marvel Comics actually care about what you want as a fan, actually believe that what they're doing is for the best, and that your happiness and your enjoyment of these books are what is paramount and most important to them. Allow me to be the one to shatter that concept for you, because these people don't give a rat's behind about anything you have to say at all. And I'm sorry that hurts some people feeling, but it's the God's honest truth. Once again, Tom Brevoort is at it again in regards to Spider-Man and MJ being back together. And boy, does he put his foot in it this time and literally let everybody know they don't give a rat's behind what you think. They're going to do what they do, and you're going to have to shut up and like it. That's what's going on here, people. Let me dive into this because there's stuff to cover here. Right? This is from Bounding into Comics. Marvel Comics executive editor defends continued opposition to Spider-Man and Mary Jane's marriage. You seriously think that if there was an easy way to make sales skyrocket, I wouldn't do it? Yes, I do think that if there was an easy way to make sales skyrocket, you wouldn't do it. Because you have a mandate from Marvel Comics not to do it. So don't pretend there, Sonny. We all know. The web of discourse surrounding the publisher's ongoing refusal to reunite Spider-Man and Mary Jane continues to grow. And Marvel Comics executive editor Tom Brevoort is standing by his belief that despite fan sentiment, there is no inherent advantage to bringing them back together in the mainstream Earth 616 continuity. Apart from making the fans happy, getting more sales, improving the quality of the stories, actually having Spider-Man be appealing to a wider audience. No advantage at all, Tom. None. No advantage. As previously reported, Brevoort kicked off his latest Spider marriage conversation while answering fan questions for the latest issue of his weekly Man with a Hat Substack blog. Asked as to his thoughts on the recurring idea that the success of the new Ultimate Spider-Man with married Peter Parker is an indication of the regular 616 Peter's marriage. Yeah, this one, I covered this last time we talked about, a couple of yahoos and all of that. Okay, but then he goes even further. You understand me? He continues on about how it's it has nothing, basically nothing to do with the whole them being married. It's about Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto. I've covered all of that before. Given the hot button nature of this issue, it came as no surprise that in the aftermath of his post publication, Brevoort found himself facing a wave of pushback from readers who were fed up with the publisher's continued insistence towards keeping the two apart. Well, people have a right to be pissed. They have a right to be pissed. While such complaints flooded out across the whole of social media, it was those that were posted to Blue Sky. Ah, yes, Blue Sky. Where the sky is bluer and all those who embrace that have run over there and are already messing it up. Yes. The editor's platform of choice that would elicit direct response from Brevoort, beginning with a criticism that all the information publicly available contradicts much of what he's saying here. And back in by the other, at least, okay, so this is it here. Spider-Fam posted, with respect to X-Men editor Tom Brevoort, all the information publicly available contradicts much of what he's saying here. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, but will they listen? No. And back in my day, editors at least pretended to respect the yahoos who cared enough to write in and buy their books. This is not limited to Reddit, it's everywhere. And this is the truth. And what I said in the last video, these people call their fans names like yahoos and all kind of thing, because that is the amount of respect that they have for them. Because what they figure is that you're supposed to just shut up and consume. That's it. That's it when it comes to them. Put out the thing here about different stuff in regards to it. So Tom Brevoort responded in the most ridiculous manner possible. This is what he had to say. Let me ask you this, fam. Is Batman cratering? Absolute Batman is consistently outselling it, right? Is Batman in the toilet? Do they need to bring Martha Wayne back to life in the main series? Seems crazy, right? My God, he called on Martha Wayne. Martha Wayne is an element of Abbats that's different from the regular book. So it's analogous to Pete and MJ in Ultimate Spider-Man. I don't think it's responsible for those sales either. But this is the sort of argument you guys are making. Correlation isn't causality. And this is where you get to see Tom Brevoort making an idiot of himself yet again. You are really trying to compare Martha Wayne to Mary Jane and Peter Parker being together. Let's be perfectly honest here. Martha Wayne died. That's what happened. In mainstream Batman, she died. She's talked about from time to time, but most of the time Batman talks about his father, his legacy, and I did a whole video explaining all that before, so you can always check that out. But I'm just saying, the fact that you are out there trying to say, what people are saying about Mary Jane and Peter Parker is somehow similar to the absolute Batman and the fact that Martha Wayne is alive in it. Martha Wayne being alive in absolute Batman literally has no effect on Batman overall. Bruce Wayne still becomes Batman because his father dies. Yes, he's more ripped, but that's pretty much it. Martha is in the story. But let's not act like she's some essential integral part of it. No, she is not. So that is an absolutely ridiculous argument, Tom. But this is the kind of nonsense that you put over when you literally have nothing to back up the nonsense that you're doing. It should be noted that despite Brevoort's insistence, this comparison is completely disingenuous. So Spider Farm continues and says, appreciate the response. Truly. I do find it an odd question, though. Martha being alive wasn't the accepted status quo for 2 decades, pitched by the original co-creator and used front and center in all the marketing. The Spider-Man marriage, though, it was then and is currently. Now, like I said, he's completely right here. Martha Wayne being alive, not that, but again, like I said, when it comes to Ultimate Spider-Man, they heavily marketed that on one aspect, and that is Peter Parker and Mary Jane are married and they have kids. That's what they marketed it on. And like I said before, I say again, the reason that book sells is because of that aspect. I have had people contact me and say, listen, I'm checking out Ultimate Spider-Man only because of Peter and MG. Honestly, that's what they've said to me. That's what they've said to me. So you could come out here and try to act like, Martha is not going to... No, it's not. It is not. That is a stupid, desperate argument because you cannot back up the nonsense that's going on. Fans are not happy and you don't want to listen to them. So this is the nonsense that you're throwing out there. Like it right here, married with children. This is what it is. This is what the marketing Ultimate Spider-Man on. Tom Brevoort then responded, and now it hasn't been the accepted status quo for 2 decades. Things change. It's not about things changing, about things getting worse. You literally, and the reason why you took away Spider-Man's marriage to MJ, because apparently the was going through some kind of divorce, some crap like that, whatever. But you wanted Spider-Man to somehow remain a 16-year-old teenager in his 30s. Apparently, he's now Peter Pan, the boy who never grew up or something like that. It makes no sense. But that's what they do. And next, somebody else comes in now and says, you state that it's the quality of Ultimate Spider-Man is what is driving sales. What exactly does that mean for the lack of quality of Amazing Spider-Man? And it's weird that you discount a married Peter as a driving factor when Marvel's advertisements heavily push that in their marketing. Tom Brevoort responded, it means that your perception of the lack of quality of Amazing Spider-Man isn't shared by the readership as a whole. Let's be perfectly honest here. This, again, person says here, the lack of quality of Amazing Spider-Man. You read Amazing Spider-Man or the quality in it, in the book, is crap. Yes, they are going, they are going to be people who say that, it's really going to, no problem with that. You're a fan of it, you're a fan of it, okay. But the majority of people can see it. The quality is terrible. Spider-Man has no life, has no ambition, has no nothing. He's just swinging around in circles. That's it. That's all that's happening. Every month, there's something coming out to ruin Spider-Man's life again, and they figure that's perfectly fine. And when you come out and say, it means that your perception of the lack of quality of Amazing Spider-Man isn't shared by the readership as a whole. Yet you have people on practically every social media outlet telling you it's terrible, they don't want this. But these are the same people who based everything they do on what social media tells them. And when social media is telling them, listen, what you're doing is terrible, they don't want to listen. That's what's going on. Responding to a reader who criticized Amazon only selling because it's Amazing Spider-Man. So this is what somebody else had to say here. Someone's mad that people caught him lacking. Tom, Amazing Spider-Man at the moment is only selling because it's Amazing Spider-Man. You give those stories from the last 2 to 3 years to any other IP that doesn't have an established reputation and won't even get views as fan fiction. That is absolutely 100% true. You give those stories to anything else. I could say Miss Marvel, but nobody buys that anyway. But I'll say, give it any other object, nobody would buy it. This is what Tom Brevoort responded. Sorry, but that's nonsense. A book sells because people buy it. They buy it because they like it. And especially after, 16 years, there's no momentum in the world that would keep a book just selling because, again, making a complete moral of himself. Amazing Spider-Man sells because it's Amazing Spider-Man, because it's Spider-Man. That's why it sells. That is a fact. Superman sells because it's Superman. Batman sells because it's Batman. This is why these books sell, because they have the actual established reputation behind them. But if you take the stories that they've been putting out there and literally put them on anything else, it won't sell. That's the only reason Amazing Spider-Man sells is because it's Spider-Man. That's it. That is it. And you know that, but you cannot discount that fact. So this is the kind of nonsense you do, and you're just making a fool of yourself even more. Pressed by yet another Spider fan, this is what they are there to say. Convenient. Anyone at Marvel can say a title is doing well, and they are not required to offer any proof. We do have the postal statements of the B&D era, and it shows obvious decline. If B&D was the bestseller then Marvel across the board was in the pits. This is what Tom Brevoort responded. Jack, I'm in business. Part of my job is to sell Marvel comics. You seriously think that if there was an easy way to make sales skyrocket, I wouldn't do it? Or that I'm lying about information that I have access to and you certainly do not at this point? Why are we even talking? Okay, let me ask you a question then, Tom. You are in the business. Part of your job is to sell Marvel comics. Then why exactly, as the man in charge of the X-Men, would you sign off on on a giant size X-Men 50th edition to have Ms. Marvel time hop and jump into the established X-Men stories and literally make that canon. Why? Because you say, you know, that if there was an easy way to make sales skyrocket, I wouldn't do it. Because doing that tells me that you have no interest in any kind of sales whatsoever. So I'm counteracting what you're saying here with that. Why would you do that? Why would you sign off on it, Tom? Because you are getting paid just to talk. Quality, no. All in all, whether Ultimate Spider-Man can keep its momentum into the next year and truly bury Amazing Spider-Man in sales rather than just keeping us ahead of it, ultimately remains to be seen. So yeah, this is what's going on here. You have fans coming out here telling you something here, and Tom Brevoort keeps making one of the most ridiculous so-called arguments possible that only shows that, you know, he literally has no interest whatsoever in ever restoring anything favorable to do with Spider-Man and Mary Jane. And every excuse this man has given here has been completely wrong, nonsensical, and shows his literal disdain for the fans. That's what it is. That's what this whole thing has been. Nothing but that. It's an absolute ridiculous embarrassment. They don't want this for some reason. And this is why it keeps declining like that. So yeah, Tom Brevoort once again shows, and like I said, out of this, if you are a Spider-Man fan, if you are a Marvel fan, you think these people actually care about you and actually want to do things to make you as the fan happy. Sorry to burst you, but nope. They don't give a rat's behind at all. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. Could I really hit that thumbs up? Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.